So what do you do when a friend calls up and says, "Hey, you want to go on a spring bear hunt in 4 weeks?" Well, you do whatever you can do to get ready in those 4 weeks. You hunt bears and you learn some lessons. This episode, we're joined by Austin Reinhold, co-host of the Just One Outdoor podcast, to hear about his latest adventure and talk about a few more things that are impacting the landscape for the outdoorsman. Are you ready to hear about a really cool adventure? Episode 6 of the Fit to Hunt podcast, powered by Wilderness Athlete, starts now. Austin, welcome.
What's up? How are you?
First thing we're going to tackle, and it's unavoidable.
Oh, right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. You are an amazing TikTok dancer. Explain to me how you develop these skill sets.
Well, I guess it goes back to my roots of playing college soccer, and, a lot of people call us grass fairies. So I think it just stems from that. I know I'm taking a little dig at myself there for playing soccer, but
no, not at all. I every now and then I'm just scrolling and I'm like, man, he's got moves. He just does.
I don't know if you can call those moves or just I don't even know what you'd call those, but hey, we're having fun doing it, and it seems like people are enjoying it and relating to it. And funny story on all those, because most of those dances come from or are like my wife and I. We ran into my grandparents. This has been a while ago, and we were talking to my grandpa, and I hear him say to Madison, my wife, I hear him go, "Is Austin hunting too much? Does he need to, cut back on the hunting?" And she thinking he's being sarcastic,
right,
is sarcastic back and goes, "Yes, it's so annoying," and like plays into it. Well, later that night, we're sitting at life group for our church, and I get a text from my mom saying that I have officially scared my grandparents and that they are praying for us because they're worried about our marriage. And my wife and I just started cracking up. We were like, I think we just need to put it out there. This is a joke. And if we were actually having serious marital issues, it wouldn't be coming across as a TikTok dance.
Very true. Very true. That's funny. No, they are entertaining. I tell you what, they make me stop every time. I guess we got to figure out how we're going to get Cameron to do these things. That's the next step, right? I want to see what kind of moves that guy has.
We'll have to see if we can get him on.
Awesome. Love it. Hey, so I'm all ready to hear about this bear hunt. You worked with us and had a really great elk hunt. Is it 2 years ago now? Has it been 2 years?
We're going on 2 years in September.
We're going on
so
2
about
years.
A year and a half.
Okay. So this time, spring bear hunt, totally different. And I want to hear about that. I want to hear about the training. I want to hear about how the challenge was different. But I think right now what seems to be hitting the news, like hard, hot, and heavy, however you want to describe that, this budget reconciliation thing where it looks like the Senate is trying to put into a bill selling off 3 million acres of public land.
It's ridiculous. And I haven't looked at like the exact chunks of land, but I mean, you mentioned the elk, you mentioned the bear, that's land that I've hunted.
Right.
It's BLM land that I have hunted. The elk was killed on a chunk of BLM land. And it's in states that it's going to affect. While it doesn't affect us, here in Missouri as much.
Right.
I think it's a snowball effect that can trickle down and affect, not just BLM, but then it goes, what are states going to do? Are they going to start selling off, their pieces of land? And I think it's a slippery slope, and it's a fight that I don't want to say is a new fight, but it's a fight that we've been fighting for years, and it's intensified. And now I think it's more important than ever that hunters, anglers, outdoorsmen, because this doesn't just affect hunters and anglers. This affects, if you like mountain biking, you like hiking, you like off-roading, I mean, all these different things. Just taking your family for a simple stroll, now you could be not able to go to that chunk of land that you love going to
Mhm.
because it's now privately owned and there's no trespassing signs and all that. It's a slippery slope, and it's time that we make our voices heard. And we were talking before this. Um, there's a great company that we've actually had on our podcast, and if you want to dive deeper into this, he's a great guy to have on your podcast. But it's howl.org or
Mhm.
Howl for Wildlife. You can Google that. You can find them on Instagram. They make it so easy to send an email to your representatives of wherever you are. I think it's as simple as entering like your zip code and your state. You enter that in, it pulls up who your reps are, and then it has emails already typed out that you can edit or you can just send them off. There are some that I've edited and some I've just been like, hey, I don't have the time to edit them, but I want my voice heard.
Right.
And the way it's set up is it looks like it's coming from you.
Mhm.
It looks like you typed this email up and sent it, and it very strongly puts, for like this instance, public land's not for sale. Like, we use it, we enjoy it, we don't want it for sale, and definitely not 3 million acres of it.
Right. Right. Well, you said something a moment ago, because I've already thought this is, we were fortunate enough to pick up some land in southeast Missouri, and it's awesome, right? But what
Mm-hmm.
made it even more awesome, Austin, is that it attaches to 400 acres of conservation ground. Now that's state, right? But to your
Mm-hmm.
point, if budgets are lean and politicians think, hey, we can do this. I was thinking before we hopped on too. I live in suburban St. Louis, and you constantly will see property sold, tracts of trees bulldozed, houses built. And I have to laugh every time I hear somebody complaining about their trees getting rubbed or their flowers getting eaten by deer. And I try to politely remind them, you do realize they were there first, right? They're not
Mm-hmm.
going anywhere. But like you said, the thing is that elk hunt would not have happened if that wasn't there for you, this
Right.
bear hunt this spring. So no, I'm gonna check. You said it's Howl for
Yeah.
Wildlife? Okay.
Howl for Wildlife. That's it's howl_org
Mhm.
ORG on Instagram, and that has links to their website and everything.
Okay.
And the cool thing about them is they stay up to date with all these issues. So it's not just this issue, it's a vast array. So they've done stuff local to states, local to cities. I mean, they're all over the place taking action
Right.
and standing up for our public land rights. And the cool thing, I forget the owner's name or the guy who started it. I I believe he didn't say it in our podcast, but he pretty much has given up hunting
Mhm.
to do this, is what you kind of
Oh,
get,
wow.
because this has become a full-time job and he's so passionate about it.
Wow.
I'm sure he still gets out and hunts,
Yeah.
but this is what he's doing. I
Sure.
mean, he's putting in time and saving us all time of researching who our reps are. I mean,
Mhm.
it's an amazing organization that I would definitely. I mean, you got to take a stand at some point,
Right.
and it's going to affect you if you've ever wanted to go on an elk hunt or anything like that, or like we've talked about, it opens the door to states, cities,
Yeah.
you know, other government entities selling off public land.
Right. Right. Well, I think if anyone's listening to this, make sure that you're going and checking out a site like Howl for
Mm-hmm.
Wildlife. You're calling your senators. Biggest thing I think before we move on to your hunt, like today, I've been thinking about this for 2 or 3 days. Finally, I just opened up the laptop, found the information for Senator Hawley and Senator Schmidt here in Missouri, and I emailed them. I tried
Yep.
calling and couldn't get through. So if you don't do it, my friends, the cost of procrastination could be pretty high. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, man. So let's talk about the this bear hunt. Right, this is what we brought
Yeah,
you on. I want to hear about this thing.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, you reached out probably turn of the new year here, and you were going to start training again. I can't remember what did you get, a backcountry DIY? I can't remember what you picked up.
So I I had kind of heard rumors of a bear hunt and hadn't committed to it. So I was just kind of gearing up, kind of my typical routine through the years or through the few years we've been working together
Yeah.
is uh kind of as season ends, I usually take a little break, just recover, spend time with my wife, don't really do a whole lot. Still stay active, but
Hmm.
I'm not hitting the gym too hard. And then I hit the strutter, then the extreme strutter heading into turkey season.
Right.
And then that transitions into a backcountry, and maybe a few others that I
Right.
sprinkle in throughout
Right.
there,
Tears out.
to get me, in peak shape for the mountains. However, this hunt in particular was one that I had heard of early in the year and then never heard about till I don't even remember when we went, but pretty much a month before we were going. It's
Okay.
like, hey, yeah, this trip's still going. And
All
I'm
right.
like, all right, what do I need to do? And, you know, we'll dive into it more, but I was prepared but unprepared.
Okay.
Because I was gearing up for turkey season.
Yeah.
And, I was staying fit, but I wasn't Hell's Canyon, Idaho fit.
Ooh. Yeah.
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 I was spring turkey, whitetail, duck hunt, type fit. Where I was fit, I could do it, but I wasn't ready to carry, 50 pounds up
Hmm.
the steepest mountains I've seen.
Hmm.
But all that to say, because I was doing what I'd been doing, I was fit enough that the mentality side of it could kick in and go, yeah, this is going to suck. I'm sore, but I can do it because I'm still in good enough shape that I can and I can push through. So that's kind of the short rundown of it all.
So I like to think about it like this. I use the phrase rewiring of the brain. Oh, excuse me. A guy like David Goggins, he'll use the phrase, I think he calls it callousing the mind. It sounds like a lot right there. You've done this before, you've trained, and maybe you weren't quite ready, but you knew how to just kind of grab and go for the
Yeah.
most part. So yeah. Well, tell me. So you had a month to train. You got up there. Tell me a little bit about like how this thing unveiled. I want to hear all about what you were doing and how you hunted these things.
So we met a guy and took a jet boat up, which I've never even heard of a jet boat till I went to Alaska this past year, which training for that helped a lot too.
Right.
But I'd never heard of a jet boat, went to Alaska, got on a jet boat there, and then a few months later, 6 months later, I'm on a jet boat in Idaho, and it's all got me wanting a jet boat. Side note. We went up, I think it was 20, 25 miles up the river, up the Snake River. One side we could hunt because it was Idaho. One side we couldn't hunt because it was Oregon.
Okay.
And went up Hell's Canyon and, just looking at it driving in, it was like, this is going to be a task. Like, this isn't going to be it put my elk hunt to shame with how much work we had to do.
Okay.
Outside of probably packing out the elk. But we get dropped off. We go hiking in. It was the plan was to go 3 miles back. And that shifted because we found this campsite and we liked where we were. And it was about 2.5 miles back. Pretty much we just didn't go up the last hill is really what we decided not to do. We decided to camp at the bottom. There was a nice river there and stuff. We could get water. So we set up camp there, and then we're looking at these mountains going, I could get up that mountain in 15 minutes. No, you can't.
No.
Not out there. But we hunt that evening, and me and my buddy see this mountain. We're like, we want to get to the top of that and glass over it. And we're like, all right, let's do it. And It was pretty much hands and knees crawling up this mountain. It was so steep. Kicking up turkey left and right. My buddy had a turkey at like 5 yards from him.
Oh, wow.
Just like looking at him. And we get to the top and we instantly by the time we get up there, it's kind of that last hour and a half of the day. And if you've talked to anyone who bear hunts, Um, that last hour, hour and a half of the day is like that golden hour when they come out.
Mhm.
And we found that true for pretty much every animal because we got up there, sat for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden, my buddy's like, I think I see elk. And he grabs, we decide, hey, let's get the spotter out. We grab the spotter. And sure enough, he spotted a herd of elk way up, way back and way up on the mountain, probably 2,600 yards back, like way far back. And then, some mule deer came out below us, but we didn't see any bear. And we're like, that's all right. At least we're seeing stuff. Next day we go out and we pretty much decide, hey, we're going to go towards where those elk were because these bears just woke up. Elk is probably a food source to some of them, or it might be. So, and we'd also been told there were wolves in the area.
Okay.
So we're like, a wolf would be just as cool as a bear.
Sure.
So we're like, we'll make it back up there. There's a nice clearing with like thick forest on each side on this steep slope. And we push back to it and set up. And same thing, that last hour, hour and a half of the day, we started seeing some turkey come out. We saw, which turkey were just like everywhere out there, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Like if you want a turkey hunt, Idaho and Hell's Canyon is the place to go. They were everywhere.
That's Miriam's, right?
Yeah. It was cool. I woke up to one. I was like, what's that sound? And I unzipped the tent. And 5 yards from our tent is this hen just clucking in circles.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I just kind of closed the tent and, come back in. And I heard a distant gobble, and it was like a gobble, us who hunt Easterns have never been out there. It was like, was that a gobble or was it not? And it was a cool experience. But then, so turkey, elk, seeing all that. And then we finally see a bear. And it's a big sow with 2 cubs. And one of the cubs was like blonde.
Oh, wow.
And I've posted some videos of it.
Yeah.
And it'll be in our YouTube video. But the rule out there is you can't shoot. And I believe it's kind of the general rule everywhere is you can't shoot a sow with cubs.
Right.
So, we weren't able to do anything. We were able to watch them. And even if we were able to do something, it would have been like, all right, dude, we're going to side hill and sprint and hope we get in range because they were probably 1,400 yards.
Oh, wow.
So it was one of those we would have had to close the distance quick.
Sure.
Especially because you have an hour and a half left of sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So that same evening, there was another group and they actually laid eyes on a boar and a boar and then I think a sow and a cub and then the sow and the cubs that we saw.
Okay.
It may have been 2 cubs that they saw. It doesn't really matter, but they laid eyes on a boar. It was at 2,000 yards and they were like, it's a good one. And they decided that next day that they were going to pursue it. And we were like, okay, well, we're going to get to where we saw our bear and try to, there has to be a boar in the areas was kind of our thought because a lot of times those sows like the boars will chase the sows with cubs in an effort to kill those cubs because those cubs pretty much lock up that sow for a couple years.
Okay.
As she raises them. So she won't really come into heat is what we've been told and have found out. So we're like, well, surely there's a boar, somewhere in this area. We go back. Neither group sees a thing that night. And it was the weirdest thing, like no elk, no muleys, nothing.
Huh.
And then I think, let's see, we went out. Can't remember if we went out one more day. No, that was the 3rd day. So the 4th day, which would have been kind of our last opportunity to hunt because we were packing out the next day.
Okay.
We went way back, about 4 miles back, and same story, sow with cubs at 2,000 yards, and it was fun watching them, but there was just nothing we could do about it. And, looking back at the trip, I think we should have pressed in further, got up higher, just because the snow line was so high at that point that I don't think we were quite where we needed to be. But I mean, first time hunting bear and finding 10, it could have went 1,000 different ways. If one of those steps out and it's a bore, all of a sudden we have one. So it was a fun trip. It was a tough trip. I think the terrain was some of the hardest terrain I think I've ever hunted. It made, like, I had a buddy ask me, how's the hunt? And I'm like, dude, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
Right.
And he's like, how's it compared to Alaska? Because Alaska was probably the hardest hunt we'd been on as a group.
Okay.
And just because in Alaska, you're walking through the tundra, which the tundra is a different animal up there. But I texted him, I was like, dude, this makes Alaska look like a cakewalk because you're side hilling everywhere.
Right.
You're having to walk up hills that are, the minimum slope would probably be 45 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And you're side hilling, following game trails and trying to get to a good vantage point. There's no flat areas. Like you're like, all right, I want to get to there to glass. And you get to there to glass and you're like, well, everything's going to roll down the mountain because it's so steep here.
Right.
So it was some insane terrain, and honestly found out why they call it Hell's Canyon because and then we were talking to a guy on the way out. The temperature range there is like, they'll get tons of snow, but then on the flip side in the summer, it's 110 degrees.
Oh boy.
And I'm just like, man, this area is crazy, but it was an awesome trip. The sights that I got to see were unreal. I can't even put into words like how cool it was just to be in that country that a lot of people don't get to see ever. So it was really cool to just have that experience, to chase some bear. Unfortunate we didn't get some, but everyone we talked to when we got back, who I would say is an experienced bear hunter, was like, wait, you guys as a group saw 10? I was like, yeah. So
Is
what?
Is that good?
Yeah, is that
right.
good?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's like a really good hunt. And we're like, oh, well, cool, I guess. Because we were all looking at it as, well, we didn't see, we saw one bear that would have been a shooter.
Right.
And it was out of range.
Right.
But they were like, hey, 10 bear is really good to see. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
It was a fun trip. And I definitely want to go back, I think, to hunt elk this time, though.
Right. All right. Let me ask you this. So let's take the 4-week prep out of the equation. If they just said, hey, you've got 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, what would you have done different?
The biggest thing that I notice for myself personally, and this comes from just like knowing my body a little bit, growing up playing soccer and knowing it, I needed to do some more squat type exercises because I found my legs were fatigued a lot faster from carrying the weight.
Okay.
And then hiking up mountains that were very steep.
Sure.
And that's something I've never really dealt with because playing soccer, my legs have been pretty strong.
Sure.
But I think I would have incorporated that. And honestly, I think it was the backcountry that I did before the elk hunt. That would have been the perfect like workout or like plan to get me prepared for this. I could have went from like the strutter and then went into like, or even the extreme strutter and then into the backcountry, or like the flatlander to backcountry, something like that. That would have prepared me a little better. And then I think having a little bit more time to, which this kind of comes back to kind of that squat type exercise, is just having the ability to ruck and train that way. Because I think you've actually posted a reel like saying something along the lines of rucking is probably one of the best things you can do for backcountry hunting. That's the most realistic for the hunting scenario. I think you were the one that posted that. And honestly, that's 100% true. That would have helped me so much. I was only able to ruck for 4 weeks, which isn't the best. And it was one of those too that I was rucking with my pack, but I was supposed to be getting a new pack. And I was like, which pack how's this going to work out? How's it going to fit? That's just an excuse. That's not really anything huge, but it was just kind of one of those, I didn't have a lot of time to properly train for carrying a pack like that in the
Sure,
mountains.
sure. Now, and you're right. The principle of specificity, you can cycle, you can do elliptical, you can jog, and all those are going to build aerobic capacity. But when you can do the activity that you're going to do and mimic it, you talk about those side hills. Not everybody has this, but find a conservation area, get off those asphalt trails, start bushwhacking through things that's going to make you have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because there are no asphalt trails in Hell's Canyon, not that I know of. So,
No,
man,
it's
that's
all
awesome.
dirt.
That's awesome.
And I will say, like, before the elk hunt, one thing that really helped me is my local gym had a stair stepper.
Yep.
And just like as a little warm up, like I'd walk for a little warm up and then I'd hop on that for like 5 minutes and just do that with a pack on.
Yep.
Just as like, I know I'm going to be stepping over boulders and trees, and even something as simple as that would have played a huge role in this. And honestly, part of it was I didn't know what to expect from Hell's Canyon. I mean, if I'm honest, I had a little bit of arrogance going, oh, I've hunted Colorado, I've hunted Alaska. Surely I can hunt this. And it was kind of a humbling experience just going, no, I need to make sure every hunt I'm trained up for. Some of that was out of my control for this hunt. But that's one thing that I wish I would have hit a little harder just kind of in my training.
Sure. Hey, do you get, now where I train in St. Louis is called the Iron Hive. People don't give me weird looks anymore when I walk in with the pack and get on something. Do they still give you odd looks when, what's this guy doing?
Oh, the only time I've got like, I don't even know if I can call it an odd look, because the guy like started talking to me about hunting. I was like, dude, are you going on a hunt? And I was like, absolutely.
Absolutely,
and
I am.
He was pumped for me. It was like, man, you're going to have to let me know, how it turns out. I never saw that guy in the gym again. It was just that one time, but
that's cool, man. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about what's going on with Just One Outdoors. What do you got happening? I know it sounds like we're going to have a bear video coming up, but like, what else is going on with the show right now?
Yeah, so we have completely redone the podcast. Well, I can't say completely because we're still pretty much doing the same thing, but we've redone the intro, and just kind of made it a little bit more professional because, we sat down as a team, and we've had some changes in the team too. But we sat down as a team and said, our YouTube has grown. Like, if you go back, which it's not live anymore, I had to take it down. But if you looked at our first video compared to our last video, there's a huge difference.
Sure.
There's growth there.
Sure.
And same with our social medias, but our podcast has stayed the same. Our intro was still the same intro I made on iMovie when I had this brilliant idea of like, I want to make a podcast intro.
Right.
So we revamped that, kind of have that rolling. And we have a presenting sponsor of the show, Rockman Waterproof. We've partnered up with them. They make completely waterproof gear. I'm actually heading back out to Idaho for the Rockman Games, which is a archery shoot out there, and it's been fun getting to know some of those guys out there. And heck, I get to go to Idaho again, and Idaho is an incredible state.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, bear hunting video coming out. We'll have a Rockman Games video, and we're trying to hit YouTube pretty hard. We're trying to get videos out pretty consistently. We'll have some deer videos out, and then I don't really know if we have any big hunts scheduled for this year for videos coming out, but we have a lot of things in the works, just trying to figure out what we can make happen.
Well, you guys do a lot of good things. You work extremely hard at it. And for a rookie, what is this? Episode 7, I think.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think my mom's watched it. Maybe, a few other people. It's cool. You know what?
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. And honestly, for more than anything else, I find this fun because it's one thing to post social media reels. It's one thing to write blogs. To have dialogue and back and forth with people who have used our programs or are just training in general, I think that's where we can not only entertain people with stuff like this, Austin, but also educate and maybe empower a little bit too. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to do with the show. So
Yeah,
anyway, hey, thank you. Always a pleasure. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing the rest of the summer.
absolutely. It was good
Awesome.
talking with you, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Will do. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. You know, we did a reel a couple days ago that was really talking about when or when not to use pre-workout, and it wasn't so much controversial, but you know, in our opinion, if you're out doing cardio, all right, you're gonna ruck, you're gonna run. I I don't know that I would recommend a pre-workout when I'm gonna go in to move heavy weight. I'm gonna deadlift, I'm gonna squat. That's that's when I look for that, and I call it a tool, right? And the one that I am really digging right now, I've got it right here, I'm looking at it, is this Brute Force Alpha from Wilderness Athlete. They got several variations. They're Brute Force. The Alpha's got just a little bit more of a punch, if you will. And I like it. It tastes great. It boosts performance. And I have none of the icky side effects that I'm seeing other people have with their pre-workout. Case in point, most of the bathrooms at the gym are filled with teenagers who have probably overloaded on some stuff that, let's just say, it's preventing them from getting a heavy lift in, right? So if you're interested, I would consider checking out the Brute Force line. I think you'll like it. I'll put more information in the show notes, and give it a shot. So as we wrap up this month's episode, Austin honestly is one of the coolest guys out there. And maybe cool is not the right word. He is cool. He's a nice guy. You know, he's had us on his show long before we even thought about doing a podcast. And I really appreciate him. I appreciate what he does. He's been a friend. He's been a customer. He's been a brother. And I appreciate the fact that he's willing to hop on here and tell us his story. Well, that's it for this month. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something. And we'll look forward to talking to you really soon. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, you stay fit to hunt.